Evening, folks. It is Friday evening and it's 20 to 7. I'm not doing an unboxing today. I'm not doing anything other than discussing serious issues, which are mental health issues. And a lot of stuff's going on at the moment about mental health awareness. Now, a few years ago, this wouldn't have been something I could really talk about because I had no experience of it. And now I have had experience of it. I want to tell you about it and how it affected me and how there is a lot of help out there, and it's important that you know how to deal with it. I'll explain what I mean by that. What it is I've got a lot of medical problems, and up to a point I was coping quite well with them. I was not letting anything get to me. I was just living my life as I wanted to live it. But the more my condition got worse, the more I had to give up. I had to stop doing. And I'm talking things such as regular day-to-day things, just things like carrying shopping around town and stuff like that. These became hard to do. I couldn't do physical things, sort of like climbing up ladders or doing anything like bending down, pick stuff up or anything like that, and I felt quite useless. Now, compounded with this was I used to be quite a sportsman when I was younger. I don't mean an athlete or nothing like that. I was never any good at anything like that. But I used to play football a lot. I used to play cricket. And my two main things I used to love were snooker and darts. Now, I wasn't brilliant at them, but I used to enjoy them. They were good for me. They were a very good stress reliever. And I suddenly found that I couldn't do them. I couldn't grip the darts properly to hold them, and also I couldn't balance while I was supposed to be standing to throw the darts, which made it very awkward. And the last thing I had to give up was snooker, because I couldn't bend over the table like I wanted to, and I only had one couple of hour session with a friend of mine, and the next day I couldn't move. I was in absolute agony. My back was really, really bad, and I knew that it was time to hang up my cue, so to speak, which I did reluctantly. Now, all this must have played on my mind a bit, because I started getting really, really low, and I would just randomly burst into tears for no reason. And yes, I'm admitting that men do cry. It is something we do. We hide it very well, but we do it, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, because at the end of the day, if you've got to cry, you get it out your system. Now, I thought, like most men do, that no, I won't. There must be something wrong here. I can't be doing this. This is not manly. I had that stupid attitude, and I wanted to see somebody about it. So I went and had an appointment with, not my doctor exactly. He was at my doctor's, and he was somebody he made an appointment with, but I don't think he was actually a doctor. I don't know what he was, but he was brilliant anyway. Anyway, I walked in there, just expecting really just to talk to him and get it off my chest. And within 10 minutes, I was literally a mess. I was a wreck. I was in tears. I could not control myself. It all came out of me, all my problems, all the things that were getting me down. The fact that I couldn't concentrate on anything. I couldn't sleep. At night time, I couldn't sleep. I could sleep in the daytime. I used to go sleep in the afternoon, but at night time, I just could not sleep at all. I was lying awake. I was fidgeting. I was kicking in my sleep. I was shouting in my sleep and fighting and arguing with nothing that, people who aren't there. I've cleared my cupboard before in the middle of the night by smashing my arms out and knocking everything flying. And, and I was worried that at one point I was going to get too violent in my sleep and I might have hurt my wife, which is one of the reasons I went to see my doctor. I didn't want it to get to that point. So I went to see him, and his name was Martin, and he was at Leighton Medical Centre in Blackpool. And he was fantastic, because I thought that I'd be judged on how I was reacting, etc., etc. But he was really, really understanding. He said to me, after everything I'd told him about why I was feeling the way I was, he said he wasn't surprised. He said, because that was a hell of a lot to come to terms with in a space of 8 years, 7 or 8 years. I went from being a really fit, healthy guy doing 10-mile walks up and down the fronts to suddenly getting tired if I had to walk 50 yards. And he asked me if I wanted to see somebody, and he gave me some leaflets. and I went and I made an appointment, and I went to see a person who dealt with mental health issues. Now, at first, I will be honest, she messed things up, because after hearing about all my anxiety problems and my issues, and I was on medication at this point, she tried to get me to do physical stuff. She tried to get me to do exercises and certain things which were ridiculous, really. I mean, if I explain a couple of them to you, you'll think, what? One of the things was, one of the instructions on the sheet was to run up and down stairs until you feel pains in your chest and then stop. Another one was to sit on your chair and spin it round as fast as you can until you felt sick. And these were supposed to be helping me. Well, anyway, another one was basically to stand in the middle of a room and spin round as fast as you can and then sit down before you fall down, sort of thing. And I said to her after a couple of weeks of this, I said, look, I said, I can't do this. I said, because I suffer with CMT, which is Charcott-Marie-Tooth, by the way. It's a, I think it's a muscle wasting condition or nerve wasting condition or something. Anyway, it affects me when my hands, my feet, my dexterity, my mobility, all of this sort of stuff. And I told her this. I said, I can't do these exercises. I said, because they're just mad. And she said to me, well, do you want to go down another route? I said, what other route? She said, mindfulness. I was like, well, I'm open to anything, to be honest. I just want to get my head out. Now, the one thing about me is I'm creative. I'm always coming up with stories and ideas, and I'm always making things in my head, you know, like plays and God knows what else. I'm always coming up with something in my head. Now, she told me not to do this because I was running away from my problems. I had to face them head on. Well, I've always done that since I was about 6-7 years old. And one of the reasons I really started doing it was when I moved up to high school, because when I moved up to high school, I was bullied really bad. Having glasses didn't help. Falling over a lot didn't help. And I did get beaten up quite a lot, and I got picked on and bullied. And when I was 12, 13 years old, I tried to take my own life. I failed, but I tried. And I was desperate. I really was desperate at that point. I thought nothing could go right for me. I thought that the world was against me, etc., etc. And when I explained this to her, that, you know, I couldn't do this other side of thing, and she said, try this mindfulness approach. Well, I have tried the mindfulness approach, and to some extent it does work. There's a few apps that you can download on your phone, and the one I would recommend, I'll just tell you what it's called now. Just hold on a second while I find it, and then I won't feel like an idiot trying to remember the name of it. It's a mindfulness one, and I think it's called Evermind, I think. Hold on. Yeah, Evermind. Now, you download this app, and it's free. It's free to download. And what it basically does, it sets you little, like, targets or exercises each day to control stuff. Now, some of them are breathing exercises. Some of them are meditation exercises. Some of them are concentration exercises. And some of them are even talking exercises. And I found the ones that made me feel better were the breathing exercises, because the one thing I never really concentrated on was my breathing. I used to let my stress levels get absolutely ridiculously high. I've ended up in hospital before by blacking out from my stress levels, and I thought, I'll go for this. Anyway, it really, really worked. So getting back to what I was on about before, so I left school, and by then I was basically a loner. I didn't really have that many friends, a couple maybe, but I made sure I was a loner because I didn't want other people around me. I didn't want friends. I was quite happy with just having 2 or 3 people rather than groups of 20 or 30. And at one point I left home, and I left home to help somebody. There was a friend I knew, a girl who I knew, who basically was getting thumped around by her dad. And she wanted to move out into somewhere, but she didn't want to move on her own, so I volunteered. I said I would, you know, leave home and move in with her. She wasn't my girlfriend or nothing like that. But we said, yeah, we'd get somewhere. Anyway, we ended up getting in a place that was worse than a staying at home, because this place was literally full of drug addicts, and it was full of criminals and everything. And now I did get dragged into it a bit, yes. I didn't get dragged into the drugs. I've always been a no-no with drugs or smoking for anything like that. But I did get dragged into the criminal side of it. I don't mean criminal as in going up and beating people up and smashing pubs in and nothing like that. But I was a lookout for a gang who stole car radios. I basically stood on watch and made sure nobody saw them, etc., etc. Anyway, I was no good at it. I wasn't cut out for the criminal life. Trust me, I'm no criminal mastermind. Anyway, after a few weeks, my weight dropped off me. I got really down and low, and I ended up going down to just over 7 stone, which for somebody who was 6 foot was bad. And when I went to see my doctor, he told me that if I carried on losing weight, my body would shut down, my organs would shut down. So I managed to sort things out with my mum and move back in, and everything went okay for a bit. I managed to get myself a job, and all things went great for a while, until I ended up having to be laid off because I had a really, really bad accident. Before I knew I'd got CMT, I had a really, really bad football accident where I tore my ligaments, shattered my kneecap, and dislocated my knee all at the same time on my right side. And the firm who I was working for were laying people off, and once again I volunteered rather than them laying anybody off who needed that job for the house, for the wife and kids, that sort of thing. I volunteered to give up my job because I said, look, at the end of the day, I'm only 19. I haven't got any responsibilities, so it's easier for me to pack in my job than it is for some of these people to be made redundant. So I got made, I volunteered. Anyway, that went okay, swimmingly, not a problem. I tried to look for another job, couldn't get one for a while, but I got another job. And I also met somebody who I thought was going to be my life partner. But again, it turned out that I got that wrong, because instead of being a husband, because we did get married, I ended up being a punch bag. And when I mean a punch bag, I mean literally I didn't know what she was going to do from 1 minute to the next. She could turn around and be nice as pie to people outside. People thought she was dead charming and lovely, but she was violent, vicious. She was abusing me physically and mentally. And when I left here, I was even in a worse place than before I'd even started. So by this point now, I just thought there was no point. I got talking to a lady in America who was going to fix it for me to go over there, and I could walk into a job over there, no problem, because they are more understanding of disabilities than over in this country. Because if they find out you've got a disability in this country, they either don't want to know you, or they'll try to get you doing ridiculous jobs like climbing ladders and stuff. So I was going to move over there, but then fate came into my life for the first time in a helpful way, and I met the woman who is now my wife and who I've been with for 20 years. But up to that point, I was very, very lonely and very depressed and very sad and all this. Now, I turned to something when I got first introduced to it when I was, 9, 10 years old. And it's when I used to go on holiday or day trips. And I got into things called fruit machines. Now, what started off as a bit of fun, which was a bit of fun at first because it was just £1 here and £1 there, because I was only little. So I only went on little 2p machines and stuff. But as I got older, I started to really gamble, and I could put 100, 200, 300 pound in an hour in a fruit machine, easy. And the gambling became ridiculous. I started spending every single penny that I'd got in fruit machines. And this is another thing about this video, what I'm doing. I'm letting people know that you can talk openly about these addictions. And they are addictions. You might say you've got it under control, but you have not got it under control, trust me. If you are going on fruit machines and you are trying to spend every penny on fruit machines to try and win money, or gamble on horses or whatever, then you have got a problem. And I didn't realise I'd got a problem for years. I just thought it was something I could control. But it got to the point where I was lying to people. And the worst thing was I lied to my mum. And that's something I really, really do regret now, because she's no longer with us. She passed away in August this year. And I lied to her when I was younger. I lied to her. I made out that I'd kept losing my pay packets and all this sort of thing. And I wasn't. I was just literally going straight up to, as soon as I got my wage packet. Bear in mind, I was only on £27 a week because I was on YTS. But I had got to pay £10 board. But sometimes by the time I got in, I'd spent it all on fruit machines. Within the space of about 3 hours, it was all gone. And I used to lie and say I'd lost my wage packet, or I'd dropped it, or anything to get money. And that was one of the things that didn't help with my mental health, because I got literally owing hundreds of pounds out to people, different loan companies and all that, and I got really into debt. So the good thing about now is I don't touch fruit machines with a barge pole. I haven't actually been on a proper fruit machine. I've got on the tuppeny shufters, the ones where you put 2 pence in and it rolls down and then pushes more off. I've done on a few of them in the last few years, but I don't go on fruit machines no more. Because one of the things when I first met my wife now is I told her about my addiction, and obviously you won't know if you're not from the UK, but Blackpool is a centre of gambling because it's a holiday resort, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of arcades. With some of the fruit machines have got £500 jackpots. These are proper arcades, proper gambling joints. And she was a bit concerned because we were coming up to Blackpool. Well, I've proved over the years that I am trustworthy, and I've never bothered with fruit machines while I've been with it, you see, because I've never needed the excuse to. The only gambling I do is online, and when I say gambling, I mean with fake money on places like Slotomania and stuff like that, because these are literally just fake money. You can buy money on there, don't get me wrong, you can buy the fake credits and stuff, but I've never spent a penny on them, and I never would, because I've got more important things now, you see. I've got a life, I've got a house, I've got bills to pay and stuff like that. But if you are in the same boat as I was, and you've got problems with gambling, talk to somebody about it. Talk to somebody about it. Get it off your system. Admit that you've got a problem. And if you admit you've got a problem, you can start dealing with it. You can't start dealing with the problem till you admit the problem's there. And it took me years. It really did take me years. And I had nobody to ask for advice. There was no internet that I could go on and search, to find out how to get off being addicted to gambling. There was none of this about. In fact, gambling wasn't seen as an addiction. A lot of people did it. There'd be literally a bookies full of 50 or 60 punters all spending all the money on horse racing. See, now it's more controlled, and now you can actually get help. But don't let it rule your life. Don't let it become you, because you don't want to become an addicted gambler. When I pass away, I want people to remember me for who I was, not for what I did in that respect. I don't want them to think, oh God, yeah, he was a bad gambler, he gambled away every penny he'd ever got, and he ended up in debt up to his eyeballs. I don't want people to remember me like that. Now, the other way of looking at this is that also can contribute to mental health problems, because if you are spending lots of money gambling and you are getting in debt and it is getting you down, and you don't know who to turn to or where to turn to, there's lots of places out there. I mean, there's Gamble Aware. Gamble Aware is a really, really good place. I've been on there a couple of times just to find some information out. But there's also the Samaritans. But the best thing I can give you for advice is talk to your friend. If you've got a really, really, really good friend that you can talk to them. Tell them what's wrong. Because the worst thing in the world is thinking that nobody's there to listen to you, and it's spiraling out of control, and you're doing what I tried to do when I was young. Try and take your own life. Don't do it. There is a lot of help out there. This is mental health awareness time, and gambling is a big part of mental health. I'm sorry, but it is. No matter what anybody says, mental health can be really, really messed up with gambling. You don't want to go down that path. I've been down that path. It's not very nice, and I've come out of it. Okay, I'm lucky. I managed to persuade myself that this was not the route I wanted to go down. I did need to do something about it. It was an addiction. But coming up anyway, I've got a couple of poems, to be honest, about mental health, and about also what happened if you don't talk and you don't manage to find somebody that you can talk to. And don't think that because you're men, you can't talk to each other about your mental health issues, because you can. Every single year I try and do something for Movember. And Movember isn't all just about growing a moustache and raising money for prostate cancer. They also deal with mental health as well, because men do suffer with mental health issues. Don't think that it's something that's, taboo and it can't be talked about. Talk about it to your friends, because you will be amazed at how relieved you feel once you've told somebody. I don't mean give them all your problems. I'm not saying, give them your problems and ask them what to do. But talk to people. Just sit down, have a cup of tea or have a pint of beer and just talk about it. Don't bottle it up. Don't pretend that everything's all right when it isn't. Because if that spirals out of control, you're not going to get back. And you need to get control. And once you've got control, you'll look back on it in a few years' time like I do and think, who was that person? That wasn't me. But it's just an issue I feel really strongly about. But only over the last few years have I really realised that I had mental health anxiety issues. I don't say it's depression because I'm very, very rarely depressed. But I know for a fact that I am not the person I used to be a few years back. Because a few years back, if we'd have gone to a party, I'd have been the one making everybody laugh. I'd have been the life and soul of the party. I'd have been the old Jack making jokes and people would have been laughing and they'd have been hanging on every word I said. And it got to the point where I used to go to a party and I'd sit there and I'd feel excluded. And the biggest thing that's happened, the main place it happened was last year. My sister got married. My sister Amanda got married. And I went to the wedding and everything was great, no problem. And then we went to the reception. And to be perfectly honest, I've never felt so separate from anything in my entire life. I literally sat there the whole night and hardly moved except to go outside and get a breath of fresh air. I didn't feel part of it. I didn't feel like anybody was there. It was horrible, horrible feeling. And I've never felt like that before. So I know for a fact that I have now got problems with my anxiety. Now, I'm lucky because I've got friends who have been there for me. I've got friends like Ian and Pauline from Stoke, who I've known for a very, very long time. I've known Ian for 3/4 of my life, to be perfectly honest with you. And we are good mates. And having them there that I can talk to is great. I've got my next door neighbour. I've got my next door neighbour, Tony and Michelle. When my mum passed away in August, I was a mess, a complete mess. And they sat outside sometimes sitting on the decking, me on my decking, so we had a little fence between us, but we would sit and they would listen to me talk. They wouldn't, he's talked too much, I'm going in. And they let me talk, even though I know I must have talked their ears off. But they just listened because they knew that I needed somebody to talk to, and they were there for me. They were absolutely brilliant. Everybody was brilliant for me. They weren't sympathetic. I didn't want the old sympathy thing, but concern is nice. There's a difference between being sympathetic and pretending that, oh God, I better do this because it's my duty, and actually being genuine and feeling them feelings for people. So I know how important friends are. Even internet friends. I've got a friend down south who I made recently called Stephen Cook, and he's always said that if ever I need to talk, I know where he is, And this is nice to have, these people that I can actually talk to. I've got my friend Sarah down in Leicester. We've been friends for 20 years, must be close on. And we've been friends for a long, long time. And, we get on fantastic as well. And I can talk to her whenever I need to unburden myself of anything. But it's important, honestly, find somebody to talk to. And it does help a lot with mental health. You've got to really, really, really understand that this is how it's got to be. You can't just go through your life thinking that it's all down on you. If you think like that, you're never going to be able to talk to anybody. And I am so, so glad that I bit the bullet and decided to go and see somebody, because I don't know much longer I could have coped. I don't know what would have happened to me. I don't know where my health would have gone. I don't know where my mental health would have gone. But now I can sort of handle things now because I stay out of high pressure situations. And that's not because I'm a chicken or a weakling or whatever. It's because I know that another incident like I had before, where my stress levels reached ridiculous levels and my blood pressure went through the roof, and I might not be here to tell the tale. And I'm hoping I've got a fair few years left yet, you know, and I want to make sure I have. So I tend to stay out of high stress situations if I can do it. I can't always do it, but 99 times out of 100, I will literally just talk like I'm talking now rather than get angry and agitated. So, yeah, I just thought I'd do a vlog today on that. It's all about mental health, gambling, and basically just talk. Talking is really, really important. Anyway, you all take care, and I'll do another vlog soon. Oh, don't forget, by the way, coming up soon is my 13-day countdown of Halloween with a mini Funko Pop advent calendar and some more stuff to follow. Coming up now, I've got pictures of a couple of jigsaws I've done in the last couple of weeks of Halloween and a couple more jigsaws as well, so you can just have a little look. And I might chuck a poem on at the end, I'm not sure. If I don't worry about it. I'll do another vlog soon. You all take care. Bye for now.